Sometimes you will flock to the familiar. Look back down at verse 3, just at the first part. Peter said, I'm going fishing. Now, you got to understand the concepts or the context behind this. The disciples had been with Jesus daily for the last 3.5 years. They woke up together. They ate together. They traveled together. They ministered together. They sang together. They prayed together. They did everything together for more than 3 straight years, every single day. Then they watched Jesus be taken away, beaten, and crucified. And although he is risen from the dead and is alive, it's just not what it used to be. It's a dark season in their lives. And so here we have Brother Peter flocking to the familiar during the dark season of his life. Peter was a fisherman when Jesus found him. Peter and his brother Andrew, they owned a small fishing business. They started their business and during probably during a pandemic, and they got their LLC and their EIN, just like most of y'all did during this last pandemic. But when Jesus found Peter, he changed him from being a fisherman to a fisher of men. Lord, I feel your presence in this place. But when it got dark in his life, what did Peter do? Peter flocked to the familiar. He went back to what he used to do before he met Jesus. My question for us today is, what were you doing when Jesus found you, and what are you flocking back to in the dark seasons of your life? Because let me tell you something, my brothers and sisters, we all are ex-somethings. Some of y'all are ex-liars or ex-cheaters. Some of us are ex-drug addicts or ex-alcoholics. Some of us used to be an ex-gigolo, ex-prostitute, ex-con artist, ex-schemer, ex-conniver, ex-manipulator. I'm not talking to everybody in this place, but I'm talking to a few of us in this place that's listening to me today that knows that even though I've been following Jesus, trying your best to do it his way, but you have found you yourself in a dark season in your life, and something is telling you to flock back to the familiar. But let me encourage somebody today. I know it might be tempting to go back to the familiar. I know it might be easy to go back to the familiar. I know it might be comfortable to go back to the familiar, but don't you dare go back to the familiar. After you have been with Jesus, you got to just keep holding on to God's unchanging hands. Hold on to his hand. Don't you dare lose faith. Don't you dare lose hope. Don't you dare lose sight of the fact that he who has begun a good work in you is able to perform that work until the day of Jesus Christ. Peter said, I'm going fishing. In the dark seasons of his life, he flocks back to the familiar.